The following is a presentation of the Carolina Sports Link. We want to welcome in the head football coach of the ECU Pirates, our old friend Scotty Montgomery. Coach, great to be back with you. How you doing? Now, before we get into football, I just want to ask, how are things going as far as getting back onto a normal schedule with the Hurricane Florence situation? You guys were displaced for a while, and are you guys back to normal over in the eastern part of the state?
Well, we're not back to normal. I think that, our practice and schooling has been back to normal now, as of now. But, there's several schools within an hour radius of us that high schools that are not back in school yet, people that are not back in their homes yet. There's a lot of things that have went on that have been on the heavy hearts of a lot of people around here. But in Greenville, now we're back on schedule. We got a little bit of weather coming through now, so school has been let out at 3 p.m. today, but we're getting closer back to getting back on complete schedule for everybody in our area. But there's a lot of people that are still going through a lot.
All righty, Saturday you guys take on the Houston Cougars. They're 4-1, 1-0 in the American Athletic. You're 2-3, but you guys are 2-1 at home at Dowdy Fickle Stadium. I mean, this is a big game for you on Saturday because a chance to open conference play at home with a big victory against a Houston team that's pretty good.
Huge opportunity for us here. We have played a lot better at home than we have on the road. We had a tough defeat last week against Temple. We lost a close ball game, 20-13 ball game in the last quarter against South Florida. And now we get a chance to come back and play Houston at home. Our kids are really blessed, and sometimes we're a little bit spoiled by the crowd that we have here. Our fans are unbelievable, show up in a high level. Our defense has played well into this point. We had a setback last week offensively and defensively, and we're ready to get back in the game and give our fans a great show this weekend. But we have a great opponent coming in. Our guys are fired up. It's a 7 o'clock game. It's under the lights. It's going to have a lot of energy and enthusiasm around our stadium this weekend.
He's the head coach of the ECU Pirates, Scotty Montgomery, joining us for his weekly conversation here on the Sports League. Coach, you mentioned the 2 road losses. I mean, 2 weeks ago you guys were right there, and then last week it was like kind of, all hell broke loose for you. Was there a lingering effect from one week to the other? I mean, how do you describe, or how do you put into analysis of what happened from one week to the other? Because it was 2 different ball clubs in the 2 different road games.
Yeah, no questions. I mean, you look at it. We beat UNC in a great victory for us. Then we had all the Hurricane Florence and had to be displaced, and then we played South Florida. I thought our guys did a good job of putting a good game plan together and going out and competing at a high level. Then we came back and beat an Old Dominion team that had just beat Virginia Tech. So that was a big victory for us. And then we just didn't play well. We didn't start the game well. I hate coming off of these defeats and then going to get victories, but that's what we've had to do as of late. You like to come off of a victory and stay in the victory mode, and we're looking at it like it was an anomaly, but we're looking at the things we did not do well and correcting it. Our kids still have a lot of confidence, a lot of juice and energy connected to the way that we've played until this point, and we've tried to make sure that they understand you can't go out and have those performances, but we're looking forward to getting back home. And our kids have played really well at home.
Yes, you have, and your quarterback, Reed Herring, having a good year for you, Coach. As we're talking with the head football coach of the ECU Pirates, Scotty Montgomery. But I got to ask you, Holton Ahlers, the true freshman, I shouldn't say, I didn't even say red shirt. I mean, He has had a real big impact when you've put him into the game through his first 4 collegiate appearances. Will we be seeing more of him, or is you guys just going to go and play it by ear as far as when you use him?
No, we're going to start to see a little bit more of him. There's no question about it. I think it's a situation now where offensively we've really crafted the offense. It's been too much crafted toward our one quarterback that does one skill set. I think that we needed to bring it back, and that's what we've done this week, center our offense a little bit more around the majority at quarterback. I think we got some guys that can run it and throw it. We need to be better in the run action pass. I think that the drop back game doesn't necessarily benefit us over the last when I was a coordinator, I was a lot less drop back pass and a lot more quarterback run action pass to get some balls down the field. I think that's what we can do a little bit more effectively as we see Holton and we see Kingsley. I think Kingsley has an opportunity to do the same thing. So I think we need to move that offense back to the middle just a little bit. We were getting a little too heavy and drop back game. I didn't like our drive starters and the plays that came after our drive starters. So I think we got to do a much better job of getting those guys involved in a little bit of a different way. So, yeah, you'll see a lot more of Holton.
When you look at your running game, Anthony Scott and company, have you been pleased with it through the first 5 games?
All except for last week. We've gotten much better. We've done a much better job. Outside of last week, we got to the point where we were rushing for 170, 180 big yards created by a lot of different people. And the creativity in our run game has really grown. Last week, we lost the ability to run the football because we got down by so many touchdowns. We've added formations. We have 3 back sets, 2 back sets, 1 back sets. We've ran the quarterback. We've ran receivers. We've ran a lot of different people. And I'm really liking the way it's growing. The biggest issue is we got to stay on schedule. Got to keep our defense off the field like we've done for the majority of the year. Keep our defense off the field and be able to run the football. But I think we got some really, really creative ways to run the football.
We're talking with the head coach of the ECU Pirates, Scotty Montgomery, here on the Sports Link. Coach, defense was a big problem last year. This year it's improved and playing pretty well. How have you seen the progress of the defense this year? Is it where you want to be, or obviously you still have more work to do?
Well, before last week, I would say that it's the biggest turnaround in football, in defensive football in the country. I don't think there's any question about it. And the way that we've been able to do it is we've recruited extremely well. We've added a lot more speed on the field. We're playing with some young people. As we look at it, about 9 or 10 out of the 11 starters that we have this year will be back next year on our defensive side of the ball. So that's a huge deal in itself. The next part of it is I think David Blackwell has done a great job of just teaching our base defense, the ins and out of our base defense. I think all of it comes down to the connection of our defensive line and our secondary. They're playing extremely well together, our defensive line and secondary. And it's just last week we just didn't have that. When our defensive line didn't get a great pass rush, our secondary gave up points. In weeks past, we didn't get a great rush. It turned into an interception. So we've got to continue to grow the relationship between our defensive line and our secondary playing together. But I think it's been one of the biggest turnarounds in football.
When you look at this Houston team that comes in on Saturday, Major Applewhite, the head coach, he runs a pretty high profile offense. I mean, they've got some players that you've got to account for on the offensive side, starting with the quarterback, number 4.
Yeah, there's no question. Derek King is a great player. He facilitates the game, but he can also throw it down the field. He leaves the ball in positions where only his guys can get it. What we've got to do is limit him from having this high 64% completion rate by taking away some of those screen passes they like to do. We got to play really aggressive on the boundary, but play disciplined enough at safety that they don't hit us with screen and goes. So those things are really, really important. But if you look at their roster, they've been able to recruit the Houston metro area and Texas really, really well, and there's something to that because they're getting to see those players a lot more than anybody else. Same thing that we're trying to do here in the East. Now we're starting to get some major contributors like Holton Ahlers straight from the East, or Kendall Futrell right out of the East, because we know these players more and more. And the more players that we can get like that, you'll start to see more of our guys in the National Football League like they've been able to produce and other teams in our conference have been able to produce. Now we've got to get the recruiting to a point of where we're producing consistent National Football League draft picks.
We're talking with the head coach of the ECU Pirates, Scotty Montgomery, here on the Sports League. Coach, watching them 10 days ago when they played Tulsa on national TV, they made Tulsa pay for turnovers. They converted all 3 for scores after Tulsa turned the ball over. That's got to be a point of emphasis for you guys on offense this week. You can't give them opportunities, second and third chances, off of turnovers.
It is. I mean, I think you got to end every single possession with a kick. But if you notice that game, Tulsa they had the game in hand going into the fourth quarter. In the fourth quarter, And because Houston made a lot of mistakes as well during that football game, the thing about Houston is I could kind of feel the momentum. Houston just kept, just stayed around in the game. They dropped a few interceptions earlier, but when they did get a chance to get those turnovers, they went and got points with them. And that's what good teams do in those situations. We've got to maintain possession of the football. We've got to run the football. We've got to keep Houston's offense off the field.
Now, when you look at this team, Coach, do you go in it with the mindset of you've got to keep the ball away from them? I know you hear that all the time when guys do broadcasts. Oh, well, they got to keep that high-powered offense off the field. Or you just go out there, play your game, and do what you got to do and let your offense do what it has to do during the normal course of the game.
No, I think that the normal course of the game has to be coached, and the normal course of the game has to have consistent play on first down. P and 10, meaning possession and 10 when you first get the ball, and then first and 10. The most important down this week is going to be drive starters, and then the first downs. They've got to be consistent. You have to stay on schedule, and that's the way that you keep people off the field. It's not necessarily about, trying to slow the game down and do all that. What you're trying to do is extend the drive, keep the drive going. And then another way to keep, a defense off the field, it's okay to throw a bomb every now and then and score because it does something emotionally to your defense when you go up a touchdown, and then you keep a defense off the field by making them go 3 and out. It's not just the offensive side of the ball. Defensively, if you want the offense not to be on the field, that's create a 3 and out by taking away those early high percentage throws that De'Aaron King does a good job, and then consistently stopping the run on second down and medium.
All right, 7 o'clock, you take on Houston on Saturday at Dowdy-Ficklen. You're looking to get your 8th win in your last 10 conference home openers. Coach, what do you got to tell the kids right before they go out there, kick off to get that victory?
This is a battle, man. This is going to be one of those deals where, I want to see the energy and enthusiasm come from our fans and our stands right into our players and erupt. That is the only thing that's going to matter about this game. It is going to be our passion and how hard we play. We're going to execute, but can we execute at a level with energy and enthusiasm that no matter if you have a bad play or a good play, you move on to play the next play. We want to see the passion, the energy, the enthusiasm flow from the stands to our players to out onto the field. And the people that are not involved in the game, our backups, our sideline, our coaches, we've got to have an unbelievable amount of energy and juice this game.
Coach, best of luck to you. I tell you this every time we talk, stay healthy, and go Pirate Nation. Get a victory on Saturday night, and we'll talk to you again next week.
Thanks a lot, man. Have a nice day.